Well, that's a pretty appropriate question for the country that we're working in. Really, it was a country that was established on revolution. And the present leader and the one who really was the founder of that revolution would state today, and does clearly, that revolutions are based on ideas, and ideas that can transform a nation. So as Christians, we've been asking ourselves in this country, as I've talked to pastors, what might be the one idea that could transform this nation? And as we've thought about that, there's a passage in Revelation where Jesus is kind of on the side. And the writer, John, is awaiting for this person who will present himself, who will be the worthy one, who will bring about transformation. And it goes like this. As he comes onto the stage, there is this announcement that he is the worthy one, the one who was slain and shed his blood, and by his blood he redeemed people from every nation, every tribe, every tongue, and he has made them to be a kingdom of priests, and they will rule on the earth. So we got a hold of that idea. If we are a kingdom of priests, we've been made to be a kingdom of priests, that means that Christ's kingdom is extended in every nation and every tribe and every people group through prayer and intercession as one. And so we began to ask ourselves, what needs to happen in our country to see total transformation? We realized somehow, some way, we needed to see all believers, leaders from different denominations, all come together to begin to pray with one focus, to see the nation transformed. And so that was a pretty big challenge. How would that happen? We realized that one of the issues that had to be overcome was our concept of how change takes place. We're all aware of the First Reformation, and that was a reformation of truth, where all of a sudden the truth of God's Word was put into the forefront where it had been in the background. And ever since then, there's been a focus on the Word and a teaching of truth. But we were missing one element, and it was the element in the early church that really revolutionized that area of the world and all of the Roman Empire. And that was the issue that the Word could not be separated from prayer. And so Peter even said, in the midst of all sorts of economic need and issues that they needed to address, he said, I cannot stop praying and teaching the Word to attend tables. And so we need to appoint others that will do that, who are full of the Spirit. But we need to keep the priority of these two columns of the Word and prayer together. And so we realize that the next Reformation that is going to happen, and not only in our nation where we're working, but around the world amongst Christianity, is going to be the Reformation of prayer. And people will come together, leaders will come together, denominations will come together in prayer. And so at that point, we began to pray of the few leaders that were there and ask God to give us a plan that would bring people together. And so He did. And it's called the Divine Prayer Clock. It was a revelation that came through a question of a friend of mine who's a pastor. And he asked me, Blake, do you think that in the Bible there are actually specific times with specific motives for us to pray? And I said, well, I can think of a few. One, Peter being up on the roof of Simon the tanner before lunchtime and receiving a vision that broke his paradigms in terms of the gospel, that it was no longer just for the Jewish people, but it was for the nations. And so from there he went to the house of Cornelius, of course, who was a Roman centurion. And so we know that definitely, there's a prayer motive, a specific time, 12 noon. Are there others? And so we went through the scriptures and actually discovered a clock that throughout the day, throughout the night, every 3 hours, there is a specific prayer motive and a specific time. And so we began to teach on that just within the Alliance. And it united the pastors, united the churches, and a movement began in the Alliance. And then without seeking participation from other denominations, they heard about it. and asked to participate. And so they did, and began to participate in the conferences, and then in our retreats, which we have every 6 months. And so at this point now, there's more than 30 denominations that are participating in this. And it's very exciting. And they're very excited about seeing what God is doing. We've had testimonies from different pastors, how they have been reconciled with pastors from other denominations. We've had testimonies of pastors who are great church planters, but were at the point of burnout and realized that this was really the fire that was missing, and has now renewed them as they get together with other pastors from other denominations and plan to see their communities transformed. And so we're very excited about what God is doing. And now it's spread to... We were asked to go there and teach there on it. And actually, while I'm home here in Canada, we will be beginning teaching in Saskatchewan. So we'll see what happens there. But we are very excited. So if you're interested in finding out about this book and reading it, it will be available very soon on Amazon.com, The Divine Prayer Clock. And it'll also be available for your Kindle and your iPad if you're of that persuasion. And so we just encourage you to get a hold of it and join us in this movement of prayer.